So it's almost Mongolian. A quick disclaimer before the interview. I am a retail investor who owns Voxtur shares. I have never been paid by Voxtur, and everything I say in this video is my opinion and should not be taken as investment or voting advice. Now, before we go into questions, I talked with Gary that he could give a brief his view on the situation before we go into questions. So.
Okay, well, thank you, and good morning, I guess, in Finland. Good evening. Saturday morning here in Toronto at just afternoon hour. And quite frankly, just after my daughter was married yesterday, and so dealing with all of this stuff and trying to get through one of the happier days of my life has been a challenge over the last couple days, as one can imagine. Before we start, I think that it's important that you get an overview of how we feel. I think that the last press release that we just released, I think is pretty descriptive of how we feel. But let me start off today by saying the following. First of all, I am not going to get into the business of saying anything negative or substantively critical of any one individual. I'm talking about our business. I'm talking about our way going forward. And I think that as a professional, it's important, that I don't get down into individual character assassinations or traits. Secondly, I believe so strongly in this company. And so anything that I say is going to represent how I feel about our company. In no way, shape, or form am I going to say to you, vote. You have to vote for us. I mean, your control numbers, your voting is of your own volition. You're all fairly, knowledgeable people with respect to Voxtur. You've been following us for years through the ups and downs, and that I know more than anybody. And I believe that your intelligence and the information that we're going to provide going forward will clearly enunciate where your best representation of the company going forward exists. And so that I'll just say at the outright. Back to receiving the letter from Mr. Smith, who is a former chairman of the board of our company for 2 years, was a little bit surprising, not 100%, but I will tell you 1,000% disappointing. I was appointed interim CEO by Mr. Smith while he was the chair of the board. Mr. Albertelli was relieved by Mr. Smith, who was chairman of the board. And Mr. Qureshi, who was approached by Mr. Smith, along with other people in the board, to take this, we'll call it dissident action, for lack of a better word. But, if it's about Proxy for shareholder and board intervention, you can call it whatever you want. But, quite frankly, there has been a very small group with respect to a percentage of total investors who would probably represent less than 0.01% of the total, number of investors, in the company as a whole. But they do have substantive portions of equity in the company. And so we believe that the representation of shares, and it's public information, so I'm not providing that, would probably be somewhere between 135 and 140 million shares for this group. And so if the support is overwhelming for Voxtur's existing directors and support of me specifically as well, that's probably, what they can count on. And there may be other dissident shareholders that have been disappointed. I mean, I will say on the surface, when you read it, yes, we haven't performed for you. And yes, there has been questions. And yes, maybe, I say maybe, there is, a need for an overhaul on the board. That's of everyone's volition. But if you really read between the lines, Eunice, you know, and everyone knows, there's not an email that I don't return. There's not a phone call that I don't return. You know, there's been, you know, a strong connection as far as transparency and what we're doing as a company. And I think that if anything, because of the interest rates, you know, and the upheaval in the mortgage industry, it has it's played a, you know, significant impact on Voxtur, and so we haven't performed. You know, also under Mr. Albertelli's reign as CEO of the company for approximately 2 years, lots of costs have in growing of the business became evident. And essentially, when we started realizing that the benefits received were not outweighing the abilities to pay, then we got a real problem. And so at that point in time, we made, you know, very swift action, and there was changes to the extent that, you know, we reduced staffing by 80% plus or minus. We went from over 500 people to 100 people. So you know, there's been tremendous austerity measures kicked in place. We've cut operating expenses by you know, almost $10 million a year, $9.5 million, I think, is what Robin reported. There will still be some further cuts because we annualize those, but you know, there still is some severances that are being paid, although not to at this stage, not to anyone that should concern you. And so, you know, the austerity measures and the growth of our company and the strategic plan, believe it or not, were all endorsed by Mr. Smith during his chairmanship. And certainly with Mr. Crushy, I think that he will tell you that he has been given and was given 100% support by us in supporting the technology growth, support, and platform that he needed to get that company to where it is today. And so it is disappointing and surprising that, given the fact of the support, that with no knowledge or no consent, he you know, provided this I guess this action that was required, that, you know, is so disappointing. You know, quite frankly, it's disappointing in a number of ways. If it was taken in a way that were objectively, we got people that were coming onto the board that were diversified, that were not conflicted, you know, either by doing business with each other and doing business that competed against Voxtur. If we had, you know, a business that was, you know, a board that was committed to essentially growing this company and going forward, but everybody knows, and Mr. Smith knows, he did have access to the intercreditor agreements, and that by virtue of an overhaul of a board, it would constitute a change of control. And with the change of control, the bank would have that right and that choice to essentially take the business into receivership, and it would have you know, tremendous impact on all of the senior members. Obviously, clearly, it is their request that I leave the company. I know I put my heart and soul into it, and I know that the strategic plan and that, which was endorsed by Mr. Smith when he was there, is well underway, and we believe that we're really happy with the growth and with what we're doing. That would all fall apart, and they know it, and they haven't really stood up and said, "Hey, we acknowledge that this could take this company into receivership," and we know that at that point in time, you know, it would significantly lower the value of the stock and lower the value of our equity assets, and have, you know, far-reaching, devastating effects for the shareholders of this company. And that's just not going to happen. To date, and it's public information, we still have more votes than, and if we assume that all of the votes that have been assigned to Mr. Smith as proxy we still have more votes today than they do. We do believe that we have at least another 150 million coming in, and that's without participation of our Finnish friends that we're talking to today. I know that you have your own challenges in front of you with the broker that you're using, who seems to be reluctant to give you the control numbers so that you can vote. But, you know, quite frankly, with over 1,000 investors, which basically floored me because I had no idea the amount of participation that was taking place. I think that, you know, in and of itself, the number of votes that you could put together from a proxy would be substantially outweigh any other individual holder if, you know, your votes were consistently joined together as far as the outlook. So we're doing everything we can. We've hired a proxy holder where they're going to make calls to your broker tomorrow and morning, because Friday was a holiday, and we're going to see what can happen and if it can happen. But I think that there was a question: can we defer it? Number one, I don't think so. I don't think the law permits it. But I again, as I said many times, as being, a CEO and a chairman of public companies for the last 25 years, where I think I have a fairly good knowledge and representation of what constitutes and the requirements and responsibilities of running that. I do not have direct in-depth knowledge of the law, and especially in this area, because I've never, in my history, ever not had over 99% support in any year that I've ever been involved in a public company. So it's pretty, when you have that kind of support, you just take things for granted. And, just in life, I guess, when you turn around the corner, there's something new every day that gives you, a further challenge. But so we're not trying to take it for granted. We are trying to make everyone aware of what we think the motives are. And I don't think that they're representative of in the best interests of shareholders. I think it's not transparent in any way, shape, or form. Not once did they acknowledge that that it would trigger a change of control and trigger the bank taking a position, and and the impact that would have. And I think that they may say, well, we could turn around and buy the bank out. How comfortable would everyone be? And I don't think, I can't speak on behalf of the Bank of Montreal, will have their own notice. I don't think it serves anyone. I certainly don't think, as a material shareholder, which I am, it certainly doesn't represent the best interests for us as shareholders together. And that's really important. And they're the shareholders too, but they're the ones that are going to be very self-serving in this. And so, to that extent, we'll let them answer that, and that will be, I guess, determined, in the vote that's happening. We'll know Wednesday morning by 9 a.m. our time what that vote looks like, because that's when the proxy votes are shut down and are tabulated. So we'll know. But the long and the short of it is that a business plan that Mr. Smith endorsed is well into effect and well into play, and we feel very, very comfortable that it's going to serve Voxtur shareholders very much in the long term. That we know. We believe, and we know, in fact, that during Mr. Smith's tenure as chairman of the board, that we did hire, and he did voted for. We did hire an independent valuation company to support what constituted, a strategic plan with respect to some non-strategic dispositions, so that we could remove our debt and allow us to focus, on our assets that were strategic and grow. And so he did support that. And now I guess he's of a different view. He's changed his mind. And so that, we have a record of the votes he supported it, right? I think that he may have wanted some of his own people that he was familiar with, but quite frankly, we didn't believe that best represented the whole board. Didn't believe that's what represented the best interest of the shareholders. So the long and the short of it is very disappointed. Did everything we could to support Alguresi and the growth of Blue Water. He made it very clear to me that, you know, he needed to be CEO of the company as a whole. And, you know, we have our own views at, and I don't think that's fair to Al for us to vet those views, but we felt that there needed to be more demonstration, you know, with respect to profitability and growth and brinksmanship and collaborative representation with all the other business units. And, you know, I'm not saying that he never had the ability, and I'm not saying that he doesn't work hard. He worked hard, smart guy. Didn't think that we personally had any, you know, any problems. But again, you're just hearing that from me. You know, he may have perceived differently, but I think highly of his, you know, of his wisdom, you know, in the running of Blue Water. I was supportive of his growth strategy. And again, you know, you do your best, and sometimes, you know, in some people's eyes, that's not good enough. So, you know, let it be where it's going to be. But only know that, like every good company, everybody has succession plans, whether it's for me, whether it's for people at Blue Water, whether it's people for any of our business units. It would be extremely reckless for us to be able to not implement succession plans if required. Again, perfectly honest with you, we supported Al in growing Blue Water business. We are disappointed that he's chosen to go down a different path. I say with respect to both Al and to Mr. Smith and all of the others that have won. Whatever their choice is their choice. If we agree to disagree, so be it. This is a democracy. Let the people decide who are the shareholders of the company. Let the people decide, you know, and what they think is the best way for Voxtur to have success. And let's just kind of, you know, go, you know, and wait till Wednesday and see where it flies. But at the outset, that's what I have to say about that.
Okay, so we'll go on to the questions then. The first one I had about the voting situation, you kind of touched on that, like what it is currently, and I guess, do you believe you can win without the votes from the Europeans and the Nordnet votes?
Well, you know, that's we think we can, but boy, would we ever like your participation. I think that, you know, over the past, there's been a number, you know, of you, and quite fairly, that have been disappointed in Voxtur's performance. And quite candidly, you know, I'm an extension of that, and so therefore the disappointment is with me. I don't think that disappointment at all has been about, you know, my work ethic, you know, about my transparency and ability to communicate. And certainly, I think focuses on the performance of Voxtur. And I believe that we've done everything we possibly can to improve that business plan. Like I say, we've cut over $10 million worth of expenses. We think that we know Blue Water is now starting to generate, you know, more revenue and more transactions and boarding more clients. And so we think that the corner, although it's not going to be 100% right out of the ground, but, you know, growth is there. There's significant value in Blue Water and is recognized on a global scale. So, you know, that's what we're doing, and just gonna keep on going.
You mentioned in your last interview with Marius that because you are the chair in the board meeting, like you didn't say this explicitly, but you could possibly like defer it, or do you have any more clarity on that by now?
Any more? I'm sorry, other more than what I've already said?
Yeah, I mean, like, because you said at the time that you're not a law person, so I thought you probably have like tried to figure this out by this point. Like, what are your rights to possibly defer the vote, or
Yeah, I don't think it, again, I said at the outset, I'm not the resident authority on law when it comes to proxy, and certainly deferring it. I don't believe now, with some of the questions I've asked, that we're going to be able to defer it. I think that the people that filed the complaint probably would like that, because I don't think that they're confident in going forward that they're going to get the representation they need. But I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to speak for them.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be fine, but I really, really do need your votes. I don't think a deferral is possible.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, such a short notice and problems with European votes, but I'm not a law person either. So do you think they have this could drag out as a legal battle if like they lose? Like, do they have any other options, or like if they win, like could this something like that happen?
There's provision, in securities law for garnering votes at any time to call, a shareholder meeting and deal with it, whether it's to remove me or remove a board member. I as chairman have that discretion to be able to call it, and I certainly think that it's not solely my discretion, but there is provision in law to make changes at any time. But it's very costly, it's very onerous, tasks, and so that's why we have annual general meetings, to be able to provide opportunities to put a slate of boards together for the shareholders to be able to have a vote and essentially decide whether they want to support the direction we're going or not. And so, they had this opportunity now because of the AGM being next Friday, and so they've used that. Clearly, they're not going to be happy if they're not successful, and I'm not going to speak and say that they won't be, but I'm cautiously optimistic that they will not be. And it's been a lot for me to digest, as you know, too. They would probably be thinking, that I'm going to be 70 in July, and this is causing me a lot of consternation. And they've reaped a bunch of personal, criticism against me. And so luckily they hope that I'm going to run and, I don't need this. Well, unfortunately, what they didn't, I think, realize is that I'm here and I took this job because I felt I had a responsibility. You, the shareholders, have responsibility to the Bank of Montreal. I'm never going to leave anyone high and dry. It's not what I do. I didn't, solicit investments in this company to take the money and run. I believe in this company so much more today than we ever have been. We're in so much better shape, as far as productivity and involvement in the company. You never back someone into the corner because, unfortunately, like many people that are so self-serving and selfish, I believe that I have a character that I'm going to stay, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that nobody is hurt and no shareholder is going to be the recipient of transactions that are less than transparent for other purposes. So I'm not sure if that's good news for you guys that I'm going to hang around, but let's put it this way. I intend to stay on the board. Certainly, I don't intend to stay on as CEO because I think that you deserve, a much more well-rounded, developed person in every individual business type. And so, but as a mentor, as experience in the capital markets, as having good representation, for the shareholders, as having great representation with the banking community, and also knowing and abilities and how to function within a public company. I intend, if you, the shareholders, allow me to, I intend to stay on and work very, very closely with the next CEO of the company. And people must understand and realize that this will be a collaborative effort. It's not like, here, take it, and I'm running. I'm not. I will be there every step of the way for as long as they need me to make sure that mentorship and that collaboration stays whole. That's what you call orderly transition. And every company has to have proper succession plannings. And so if Mr. Koreshi is not successful in his actions, and he desires to do something as far as moving, I would hope, and he had indicated to me that I hope an orderly transition will take place. I'm not sitting here and representing that the company is taking swift action immediately, because I don't think I think it's way premature on everything. I think he was a good runner of Blue Water, but the company is much, much bigger and much more diversified and much more important collectively and aggregately together than on its own. Unfortunately, I don't think that he sees that. And to that extent, that's not only disappointing, but it's not something that someone we could have that represents the best interest of the company. Again, I'm not saying anything vexatious against him. I'm not going down that road. If I had anything vexatious to say, I just wouldn't say anything at all, because I just don't think it's helpful, right, or professional.
Yeah. But I guess we would assume Alguresi's position would be. I'm not very certain if they fail to do this thing.
Yeah, I kind of said as much as I can say. I mean, that's all I think that you can assume whatever you want to assume. I don't work that way. I don't play, with someone's lives in the court of public opinion. We'll do the right thing with the company. We have a heart, we have a soul, but we also know that we have an absolute responsibility to the shareholders to make sure that we have commitments from management, commitments from the leaders, in the role of this company, and in a collaboration with everyone else. And if that is not present, then it's our job to make sure that that presence, is put in place.
You probably have do you have people that could run that business also?
Let's put it this way. I think it would be foolish for every company to not have some proper succession planning in place, no matter what the position is, right? I think it would be foolish. I'm not saying that we're the best, but I'm also, not agreeing that, some people could think that if I leave and, we're all falling apart. That's not going to be the case, right? It's not going to be the case. I have great respect for the whole team over there. And if it doesn't work, nobody, it's a democracy, it's a free world, right? And so we can't conscript anybody that doesn't want to be here. But I think they love the business. I think they like what they do. They're all put in difficult positions, so because they want to support their boss, because he hired them and they have that responsibility. So I don't know what's going to happen. I do know that what I do know is going to happen is we're going to be okay, regardless.
I think probably the biggest worry is that the change of control, the debt. So you talked about it, but in the press release you said that The proposed changes to be board would constitute a change of control and trigger an event of default. You know, so
Right.
I don't know. So these people would come into company and then like the debt would be in default. Like, do you think this is how it would go?
Well,
Everything with the BMO?
let's put it this way. The Bank of Montreal, I do have close relationships, but the Bank of Montreal enters into contractual agreements for debt and anything, not with me, but with the company. They believe in the company. They like the company. But and quite candidly, we're dealing with the debt issues. We've cut the debt almost in half, as you all realize, and our intent is to get rid of this debt sooner rather than later, and just kind of start fresh with the bank and continue to move forward as we grow the company. The relationship that BMO has with the representative group that is trying to overturn this company is not there. They've done nothing to basically work with the bank to have them supportive. And I think that says a lot about what their potential intentions are. But having said that, the bank will make a decision. I worry that if we don't get the vote, I worry that that decision, may be predetermined, right? And so, quite frankly, I am confident we're going to get the votes. I am. Um, and I would say to you that if not for doing, and you providing the excellent opportunity to speak to your, Finnish, investors, people like Marius, and speaking to them, me getting out there and speaking and returning phone calls and being as transparent as I can. I think it was sorely, sorely underestimated that we did not have a relationship with retail investors. We have good relationships with retail investors. We have good relationships with, with institutional investors. It is about working every day to make sure that you answer every phone call, return every message, and prepare a somewhat intelligent, believable, and executable business plan. And so that is what I think we've done. And I think that the voting, save and except for Mr. Albatelli, who's been removed from the company, other people that were part of that exit group that have now kind of sided with Mr. Smith, Alguresi, who has decided that he needs to be the CEO of the company as a whole, which again, I'm not criticizing him. That's what he believes. And if he believes that he's entitled to that belief. Mr. Smith, who resigned from this board, um, for reasons we know that we think it's to do with, certainly, with, and Mr. Cressy led the charge in that, saying that there was, I guess, conflicts is a good word. Rice Park has a venture capital business that has prop tech companies that do compete in the same service offerings, and they continue to invest in new companies to do that. Their prerogative, absolutely their prerogative. There's nothing, vexatious about that. I mean, good for them if they want to grow that business, and it is a free democracy. But it's very difficult, as Mr. Cressy has said in his own words, how do I present a strategic path for my company, Blue Water, when Mr. Smith, who sat in those board meetings, could use that information for his own personal benefit on businesses that he is supporting. And so I'm not talking out of school. That's, was a big concern that Mr. Cressy brought to our board. Our board dealt with it. There's not a meeting that we start with at a board of directors that the first question that's asked on the agenda is there any conflict of interest, to declare? And the way boards work is that in some cases, unless we have call a special meeting, you can't remove board members, but we ask them to declare it. And if there is a conflict, we ask them to step aside for whatever term of that agenda on that meeting is discussed and then bring them back in. But if they choose to say, I don't have a conflict, then essentially what happens is if conflicts are apparent and damage is done, then they're personally liable. So Canadian law may be different from American law. Mr. Smith, explained to me that he went to see Canadian counsel, and then when he came back from that meeting, he abruptly resigned. So he may have his own interpretation why he left, and I choose to let you guys decide whether that is something that you can believe in. I wasn't at any of those meetings. It seemed coincidental, but maybe he has a better explanation. Nick's a smart guy. He had a lot to contribute to our company. It's disappointing that ended the way it did too. As I said, when he left, we wished him nothing but the best. And personally, wish him nothing but the best for all these guys. I just don't think what they're doing right now represents the best interest for Voxtur.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at these guys, like there's 5 guys, and 4 of them, like 2 of them are Rice Park employees, and Alguresi he was funded by Rice Park, and then this Hiligos character, he was in the Blue Water Advisory Board in 2019 with Nick Smith. So like it's like just like looking at like quickly, like that this is like an old fishing club. I don't know, like just speculating, of course, and then we have
one big happy family, right?
Yeah, and then we have Chad Neal, who you said that Jim took your he started giving business to this company Fin Title instead of you, right? And he used to be at Fin Title.
Correct. Well, he still oversees and has a role because Fin Title is owned by the law firm, and so one of the investors, one of the suggested board members is an owner of the law firm and Fin Title, and so also is Chad Neal, and Chad Neal was hired by Jim Albertelli as CEO, and then Chad Neal and Chad's a smart guy and nothing that he did in the company did we say that he couldn't contribute and help the company. But when Jim left, he came to the point that he said, I came here because of Jim, and so I'm not going to stay because Jim's no longer here. And he wished us luck, and we wished him luck, and so it is. But some people just can't go and then get on and do their own thing. Some people just decide that that for whatever reason, there's a debt that's owed them, and I don't get it. We never once, never said, not good luck, wish you the best. So I'm not understanding all of the strategy of what they're trying to do here, but I don't think they're going to, be successful.
How much revenue did you lose when you lost that business to Fin Title? Like, how much revenue was that?
Well, let's just put it this way. How much do we save as far as the losses that we are incurring? Part of the reason that Jim left was that our profits were non-existent, and there was this tremendous drag on the company because of the default business. It was, we were losing in most cases $300,000 to $400,000 a month. This is public information, so I'm not giving you anything that's not there. And Jim calculatedly just said that, the default business is coming back. And so I don't want to lose these people because it's going to be hard to hire them back. And so let's just ride this out. Well, we had 2 years and 8 quarters of trying to ride this thing out, and it was not supportable. And so, so we thought we had an understanding that Jim would still provide us the settlement services. But notwithstanding that, he had other views, and he decided to give the business to Fin Title. And that's probably because some of the principals of Fin Title owned the note. Remember we sold a note that we had that was owed by us by Mr. Albertelli. Well, one of the board members and another principal and the company that Chad owns that note. And I suspect they haven't been paid for that note yet by Jim, but I don't know. But we presume that he hasn't been paid. And I suspect that our share price hasn't done well over the last 24 months. And that's not Jim Albertelli's fault. I mean, interest rates tripled, defaults with moratoriums and COVID, this, kind of became existent. And the whole default business and the whole title businesses collectively around North America have fallen off the mountainside. So I'm not sitting here and trying to, throw blame, on Jim. I mean, he, if we made a calculated decision, he made the decision to hold on to the people, and losses occurred. When I came on board, that's it. 400 people, roughly have been removed from the company. We decided, with the help of Brian Marshall, that we would digitize the whole title business. And that's starting from pre-docs to starter kits to basically digitizing the whole lending process. We've completed the technology for the starter kits and the pre-docs. We're in a satellite project right now to rolling those out. So we make sure that all the kinks are out and that there is no material, because there's a lot of AI and a lot of proprietary technology and intertwined with data that we have that requires that. So we want to make sure that everyone's out of harm's way with the technology that we built. And quite frankly, Jim deciding to give that business to Fin Title, did it hurt us? It hurt us to the extent that he still owes us money from the work that we did for him that we haven't been paid. But did it hurt us from a financial standpoint? No, we're losing money in that business. So I made it very clear that we come in and we brought Jim Adams in to run it, that we needed this turned around, that we were not going to accept losses, and that if necessary, we would have a skeletal team on settlement services and build on that as the business grew back up. But our focus is going to be on technology. And so that's what we've done. So if Jim decides to give this stuff to Fin Title, good for them. I'm sure that, they're probably a private company, and so their balance sheets aren't available. But I suspect that, they've seen better returns on their investment in the past. And hence why there's probably some resentment to Voxtur. So isn't it surprising to know that the deal that Jim helped put together, it didn't work out for them. Now those two individuals are coming back and trying to throw venom at the company. I mean, isn't it surprising that I believe in Blue Water, I believe in Alguresi, I believe in the team, love it. I know we're going to grow. But I don't think it's any surprise to anyone that Blue Water didn't come out of the chute with solid numbers. We've spent more than they brought in, and it cost us, about $1.3 million a month, interest and principal, to carry that $30 million that we borrowed. So one thing is to cover the cost of our borrowing, the other is to get a return on the investment. They haven't delivered. It was sometimes contentious between Al and I, and it wasn't meant to be personal, but we were getting a lot of pressure that we needed to be profitable. So what we agreed to do was focus in on the technology that he had, that he needed to build, and to his credit, we're there. Like, not 100%, we're there. So much has been garnered, and so. Do you know how disappointing it is to know that we're right there and now they're trying to essentially take it and run? I mean, it's unconscionable to me. He's a large shareholder, but his personal benefit, if he takes this, is going to be much, much better. I know he's had discussions, as far as what his plan was as a CEO if he takes over. certainly not going to be in the best interest for you, the shareholders, because it is what it is, and there's certain information that we've been provided that supports that.
I mean, like in 2023, we saw a lot of new client additions to Blue Water, but we didn't see the revenue going up. Like I guess now we want to see the revenue going up from those new clients.
Any new clients that you get, there's not instant gratification. All right. Any new clients you get is not. It's a boarding on, of these correspondents. It's about, getting all of the customizations that you need to be able to intertwine with their, trading platform or their loan platform and trading platform. It could take as much as, 10, 12 months. And so, yes, we can get a new client with respect to if there's a bulk deal that takes place. But getting involved in our flow, getting involved in trading of loans on a monthly basis, we do have to integrate our platform, and the tech people all have to get involved in those specific companies in order to be able to oversee and allow that flow to happen. And so that's taken place with two of our larger companies that are in the mortgage business, and where we have increased our correspondence, our banking institutions, and boarding them on, and we've got hundreds now versus we lost a whole bunch when we bought the business, and then to find out that one of the businesses that were there were sold, and they didn't go away, but we had to board back all of those platforms on a different platform. And we thought that it was going to be 3 months, and it's turned out to be probably closer to 3 years by the time it's done. So there was revenue lost. And listen, this is not about us being unhappy with Blue Water. We realize the challenges that were brought to them that no one anticipated. We believe in the business so much. There's a lot of interest in Blue Water. We're just there around the corner where it's going to do extremely well. Al knows that. And so, I find it disingenuous, the whole thing. But, again, personal opinions don't count. What really counts is how do the shareholders feel?
But you have reached like all-time highs in revenue for Blue Water recently, have you?
We have what?
I heard that in an earlier interview this year that you are now above the pre-acquisition Blue Water revenue.
Oh, like we're getting there. I mean, listen, I think that we're the year previously to us closing, was no secret to everyone. They were around 11 million of profit and I guess 17 or 18 of revenue, right? And a lot of that was flow revenue that they were getting that they lost. So, we were hoping this year, with the advent of we paid for, by the way, to be clear, Voxtur paid for this. We built, and Al's team built pre and post close due diligence. They brought on non-QM and whole loans. Lots of technology that they've developed over and above that. I'm not the guy to speak to you in a very articulate way. We have other people in our company that can, give you a nice, 2-hour tutorial on the ins and outs of the machinations of how that business runs. I certainly can't. But, we've done so much to support Al and his team to grow all of these products. And, and that, comes at a price, cost, but you pay today for, performance tomorrow. And I think tomorrow is starting to happen now, and hence why we're disappointed that, that there has to be this kind of upheaval. It's just so not necessary.
No. Do you think we're going to get Blue Water above that 15 million revenue this year?
Well, They should. They should. They should. I mean, Al talks to me every day. He was so excited. It wasn't too many days went by other than the last week, which I know now why that conversation stopped. I was, somewhat curious about that, but he's excited every day about where this business is going. He's excited about the tokenization and getting involved in that side of the business. Al's a really totally committed, guy, totally entrenched in his business, very passionate about what he does. And so I shared with that passion with him and believed in him, trusted in him. So none of that has changed as far as, the business side of it. I guess he just wants to do it without us as opposed to with us. But guess what? He sold the business to us, didn't he?
No. So you had in the recent press release that Alguresi tried to acquire a company, or he approached the board with a proposal with a financial backer to come to acquire the company, but you said it was not undervalued. So can you provide some details on this offer?
Yeah, listen, we're bound by confidentiality, so I can't say who it is. I think that we just simply say that, we hired, a bank, to provide us advice on all acquisitions and dispositions, to do a review of the valuation of what our company is worth and looking at every avenue possibly that we can improve shareholder value. And, a proposal, and I would say a proposal because when our representative tried to vet the veracity, of this offer, there was absolute refusal to give transparency on that end of it. And so, you don't go down a road unless someone is ready to show you that they have the capabilities to be able to fulfill a transaction, number one. Number two, the offer was substantively less than what, valuation we had that was given by the company that we hired. And we're talking about a very, very large financial entity that has tremendous exposure in all aspects of banking in North America, globally for that matter. This is not where we hired somebody that's, kind of, decided that I want to be a broker today. These are people that are extremely fluent, that have done multi-billion dollars worth of deals, both private and public companies, both taking companies public and both taking companies from public to private and doing, individually public and private deals. Massively, highly recognized and successful entities. So we're really, really thrilled. Again, I think that I used some of my influence to be able to entice them to do that because of, my years in the public markets, because, we weren't of the size that they typically take on. So, all of what I'm saying, I know it to be true, but I'm just saying that I think that we're very fortunate to have the credibility, of this institution behind us and looking at anything we need to do to improve the valuation of our company. And, the entity that was brought forward, I met them, anything that they brought forward is extremely disappointing and not representative of anything close to where we're at.
You say like what they offered per share? Probably don't. Like what they offered per share? Can you say that?
No.
Okay. So I heard that you have 3 deals you're pursuing, and all of them could eliminate the whole debt. Like
It's
everyone?
probably it was probably a slight exaggeration. You
Okay.
know, let's put it this way: two of them could, right? Two of
Mm.
them could. One of them certainly substantively, could get us to a point that is very workable, and the bank would be happy. So I'm of the feeling that we would like to take the debt down substantively, and just have it in single digits, if not altogether gone. And I think the bank is of the view that, listen, we believe in you. We really like Voxtur. We continue, and they have invested in us. They're a large shareholder in us. But we like to get our debt as a relationship to profits. And so let's hunker down, let's get into profitability, and let's find, an agreeable multiple of those profits, and we'll go forward with you. And so that's what we're trying to do. Um, and so in the meantime, we've committed to them, and so we've removed almost half. And our goal is between now and the next. I know we said in the release that at the end of the year, but it'll certainly before then, and in not too distant future, let's take stabs of eliminating that in a material way, where it doesn't become a material encumbrance the way it is right now on us. Again, I can't say enough about the Bank of Montreal and how supportive they've been to us, how reasonable they've been to us, and how they've stepped out above and beyond to support Voxtur, because they do believe in us. Just a great example of a banking institution that I have nothing but great things to say.
And these deals, like let's say you get one of them and you eliminate the debt, are you still pursuing the other two?
Let's just put it this way. Why does anyone have a succession plan? Because you don't anticipate certain things happen that you have to. Why do I, look at multiple deals? Well, what happens if one of them falls through? I don't think the bank is going to say to me, well, geez, that's too bad. It's okay, don't worry about it, and let's go see if we can find another one. It doesn't work that way. So I think from a strategic standpoint, we looked at multiple opportunities, and so I'm just going to take it one step at a time, and let's see, who's willing to, step forward first and what that looks like. And so I think that the likelihood of us doing all three is slim to none. But, obviously I don't make, all the decisions. But what I do know is that, this receivership or whatever, and calling it the debt, um, is so, I mean, our assets is so significantly more than the debt. Probably, depending upon, how we treat things going forward, it could be as much as 10 to 1. And that's why we feel like, with a, whatever it is, a $60 million valuation in representative, I mean, even some of these deals that we're doing, will be more than that as far as evaluation, each one individually. So, it's not a great time to be in prop tech space today, in the public markets. There's lots of really good companies out there that are in prop tech space. Many like what Mr. Smith runs, and it's all about capitalization. Are you well capitalized? If you're well capitalized, and you're allowed to be able to take one step back to go 5 forward. And so when you're in the public markets, and we have raised money in the past, but we've grown, the capitalization is not there right now, because most people are putting monies into ETFs, as you can well imagine. I think our company is going to be around the success. I think that we're really going to hit it. Has it done anything within the timeline that you wanted? Absolutely not. Are we disappointed because we haven't performed in that respect? Of course. And, I have share in your pain, because I have millions of dollars of my own money wrapped in and committed to Voxtur. And so we're aligned, and I'm not doing a mea culpa here. We haven't delivered, in the manner you wanted. But, it was further exacerbated by the whole market and interest rates rising and COVID and moratoriums. And still today, there's been no material change in defaults, right? And bankruptcies, et cetera. That day will come. And, we're still sticking with an ability to be able to capitalize on that. But what I did was make a material decision that we needed to downsize in the staffing to support that. And, as we get evidence of it coming back, and then we'll build up as we need to. So that's what we've done.
Yeah. And when you say 10 to 1 on the debt evaluation, we're talking close to 300 million USD. So how do you come up with that estimate?
Well, it's strictly an extension of what we think on, where we are, where we're maybe not right this second. But when you buy a business, let me give you an example. You have a business, and let's say, you're selling widgets. And what you had to do is you had to put a whole bunch of money into inventory, technology development, and all of a sudden you're just kind of right there that that contracts are pending and coming forward. Are you going to sell it based on your past performance, or are you going to sell it based on what you're going to do in the future? And so, our valuation right now, just in the three, well, I mean, I can't even imagine in one, like we're going to grow like crazy. This is, I'm sorry that I don't mean to be trivial in any way, respect, or form. I believe in what we're going to do, and you will see over the next coming, weeks and months, as I said many times. But we will provide evidence of the veracity and ferociousness of how this company has the ability to grow.
I mean, Q1 was like, even though it wasn't cash flow positive, we saw a lot of good signs there, because you finally had growth year over year, significantly quarter over quarter. So you think this is like Q4 was like a bottom, and now it's you think you're going to be growing quarter over quarter?
Yeah,
over year,
like, listen, we've got some things on the table right now that, and I've been pretty frank and pretty candid. Blue Water was a very, strategic cornerstone asset of Voxtur. Blue Water on its own would do very well, but Blue Water has the capabilities to bring in tax, title, valuation business too, as part of the synergistic platform. And so our business historically has been hurt because Blue Water hasn't delivered on the numbers that they historically did at the time we bought them. And not only that, is that we've had to put a whole bunch more money into technology to build such platforms as pre and post-close due diligence, to be able to handle non-QM and whole loans, and to be able to invest in the opportunity to do tokenization as well as everything else. Lots of money has been spent in a number of different places in the origination space. And so it's been a hell of a commitment. And I stood by Koreshi every step of the way to support that commitment. And so it has been a big cost to us. And so that's, we've been hurt, and we're not that big a company today that we cannot avoid having that impact, of one company. So as Al goes, we're going to do better. But, we talked about, the tax business, and everyone's saying, okay, when is that coming? Because, we get assertions from the government that this is where we're at, this is what's going to happen. And, and everyone that's had any affiliation working with governments is that, it's kind of like, 7 years in Tibet, isn't it? It's that movie that keeps on going, but we know we're there. Again, we know when we think the announcement's going to be made. But I love that business, and it's going to far, far, far surpass what blue water is. It's really, really, really good. And
I
so,
think
Jeff,
RPTA is going to. You think RPTA is going to
yeah,
surpass
it's
Blue
it's
Water?
it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I know that business because I've spent 40 years, in taxation, and I wrote the policy manual that defines property assessment and taxation in Ontario. And I know what the government is doing. I know that the platforms that we built are absolutely needed and deemed essential. And we've moved from just looking at one platform that now we're looking at basically, trying to get involved in every aspect of property tax, in Ontario. So, we've been given, confidence that is well on its way and happening. And, we're just kind of meeting every week, every day, and just waiting. But that business is so good, so good. And it's because I know it probably as good as anyone on the planet as far as, I mean, I wrote the policy manual that defines property assessment and taxation in Ontario. So I love the business very, very, very much. And Jeff Young has done a great job in, working with the government every day to move things along.
Yeah, I mean, investors are completely anemic about that business because it's been like so long.
I know.
But like, and wasn't there at one point you talked about like going into the US with that business? How is that plan going?
Yeah. So yes. Yes. And so, is it moving at breakneck speed down there? We were counting on the support of Mr. Albertelli, and the title business to help get us into these entities to bring in the tax piece. That didn't transpire. So essentially what we've done is that where we've got all of the tools waiting, what we've done is that we know that the business in Ontario is going to be prolific. So let's just focus on building more, some of our technology, building out that even more radically, and, and allow, because we think that opportunity for profit is much more immediate and predictable.
It is correct that business doesn't generate money in US at the moment.
That's not in the US, not the property tax business. No, we have a platform that we built in the US that works with many of the counties, both in sketching and in assessment, workflow management, imagery. But at this stage, we're not doing the tax analytics piece. It will happen. It'll come. But right now, we're focusing on building the technology where we know we're going to get the money right away. Yeah.
You said like you have a joint venture and you have this position you have said in the past, like you're not going to sell your core assets, your core technology assets, but are you looking to do like a joint venture with one of your core assets like now Blue Water, things like
Yeah, I will say that there's such a thing called strategic strategic partners, right? And so let's say, for example, you have a business and they have a business. And they could be strategic because they could be, a significant user of your technology to personally benefit. And that's called strategic investor, right? Because therefore they would use your services exclusively for what you were doing in technology. And so even if you sold half, the 50% you have remaining will exceed the 100% that you're getting right now. So we have a couple of very strong strategic partners that we're looking at. And so we've got decisions that we have to make on how that is implemented. So, as we speak, we have discussions ongoing about those partners.
I have a question here that you said one business could be bigger than all the other businesses put together.
Yep.
Was that RPTA? It was RPTA?
Could be.
Sorry.
Could be.
You know, business you meant in the
Could
when
be.
you said.
Listen, I like all of our businesses. You know that I've been bullish on Blue Water. It's a great business. I think it's going to be significantly great. I love the taxation business. It can be significant with some of the things that we're working on right now and the platforms that we're building. It could be significant, and we could extend that across the country and extend it in the U.S. But a few changes because of people that we've had to let go. And you can't have everything all at once. We need to get profit right away, and so we've had to kind of slow down things like real wealth. We've had to slow down a few things because we can't afford to be putting more money in developing this. We need to focus on what we can get more immediate as far as profit and allow us to go back to those.
We talked in the last interview we did with Marius about the cash burn. You said we got that down to almost nothing, 500,000 a month to run corporate. So did you mean by that it takes 500,000 to run corporate a month, or that you are burning 500,000 a month?
So what I meant by that was right now corporate is spending, let's say, $1.1 million a month. Of that, $600,000 of that is things like licensing for OS, for Azure or AWS, right? It's other licensing for technology. It's legal fees that we're looking at, working on behalf of the businesses, marketing, accounting, HR. All those resources right now are residing in corporate in that 1.1. If we were to basically pass on those resources proportionally and some of those to the corporate, because you can't run a business without accounting, you can't run a business without some legal work that's being done for contracts, etc. You can't run a business without having to pay for licensing and some of the technology. If we were to be able to divert that back to the corporate, or sorry, to the individual business units, it would cost us about $500,000 a month to run corporate, and that includes the audit and corporate legal, so and basically salary. So massive amounts of money have been reduced. As Robin said at the top, almost $1 million a month, right? So or more than $1 million a month when it comes to, if you want to talk Canadian, as a public company. So because a lot of our costs in corporate are Canadian dollars. So we've made big strides that way. So that's what I mean by that.
So like your cash, I think at the end of last quarter it was like, well, I don't have it right now, but I think like 2.4 million or something. So, and your cash burn was like 3 million. So we are at the end of this month. We know that your cash burn, it must have gone down, otherwise you would have no cash.
Well, I mean, listen, I mean, like I said at the outset, we had a couple of good contracts come in for Blue Water, and Al had indicated that there'd be a number of deals that were going to close at the end of this month, and so we were somewhat optimistic and confident that as Blue Water grows, we needed them to average at least $1 million a month plus typical flow stuff. So I mean, if Blue Water was to do $1.5 million a month, which is not overly aggressive, given that that's what they were doing before we bought them, right? If they were to do that, then we will be cash flow positive. So otherwise, if they don't and they don't perform, which that's not an anticipation, we're anticipating they will, but if they don't, then we better get this property tax business kabooming, because that will take care of things. I mean, right now, if I was to throw everything in, it probably costs us somewhere in the neighborhood of about 3.7 to run our business all in, right? 3.7 a month. So, we've got we have that, possibility of a real big piece coming in, on the tax side, a real big piece coming in on the valuation side. So, it's really attainable right now. Because historically we were at about 3.1, right, without any kind of one-off, legal fees because of a stupid accounting audit thing that we had to pay for that had nothing to do with us, and some legal costs. We're going to get some costs from this stuff, I'm sure. And we had to hire a proxy company. We had to hire some lawyers. They seem to be sending stuff to me every day and thinking that we're doing something wrong. And my lawyers are writing back and saying, obviously you don't understand the law. That all costs money. It's just, like that audit cost us a ton when the auditors decided to move. Had nothing to do with us. And for us to find a new auditor and pay for all of the reviews, and then the Canadian Accounting Auditing decided that they wanted to review our new auditor, right? I mean, it just doesn't seem to end. And so these one-stop costs, continue to go. And so, at times it gives you a lot of, kind of a sour taste in your mouth as far as running a public company today, because the amount of scrutiny that they have versus private is so much different. But, here's the bottom line. We need to make you guys and all a significant return on your investment, and then we'll have the ability to make decisions. If we sell in whole or in part, we need to make sure that you get that return, either in shares in the new co or dividends in cash. We understand what our responsibilities are to you, the shareholder. We do. And we know that you didn't buy this to not get a return. And we know that you had trust and faith. And we know that, when we're up to $1.50, some people chose not to sell when they could have, and have hung in there. And so probably a lot of regrets. And I can tell by looking at your face, you're probably saying, I'm not talking to you specifically, but we have some swings, but it is what it is. And so we're gonna get this turned around. Like I'm in, and I'm not, like, I shouldn't be working the way I am at 70. I should not, but I'm not failing. Okay, I'm not, until we're 100% out of harm's way, unless you guys decide and choose that I should, and then I'll just know that I did my best, right? So, but I'm not leaving unless you guys decide. But we do need a CEO. We need someone that has much more in-depth knowledge of every individual business. We do, and so we'll continue that search. But it doesn't mean that I'm leaving. It just means that I can focus on areas that I have more strength in to improve the company and continue to act as and provide mentorship and good governance.
I mean, a lot of us were before this whole thing came up. We were obviously thinking like if this sale or JV or deal, if it doesn't happen, the cash is quite low. Like, is there any other source of capital in that scenario?
Well, yeah, the banks are working. The banks are working with us, and to be perfectly clear, selling a non-strategic asset is not a luxury. It is mandatory, and so we're well on the way, right? And we thought that we were going to be able to do something this week or the first of next week. And so what I don't know is, by the aggressiveness of this dissonant group, I know they got another name for it. I forget what it is right now, but we'll call it a dissonant in my view.
And for accountability.
Okay. All right. So anyways, the people that think that we need a board change, that's probably a little bit more professional way of looking at it. But if this not had happened, this other deal would be announced, and it would have a tremendous relief for Voxtur in every material way. And it would have been good news. So I don't know where we're at right now. I mean, we're going to figure it out for sure. But I think a lot are people thinking, well, let's get through next Wednesday, make sure that we're good, that their boats are going to be pounded off. Then let's sit down and see what blue water looks like, right? Because I believe in all the executives, the people that are there. I mean, they've done great jobs. They get good insight, but I really don't know, and I choose not to talk to them right now because I think that we need to get this coming week over with, and then we'll sit down. But we're very much in support, of the group and the business to continue, and people need jobs, but I don't know. We'll just cross the bridge. I mean, I'm not one of these people that would go in and micromanage, Alguresi's team, right? It's part of showing respect. So, we'll cross the bridge, but we hope the Blue Water business and the team can stay intact. But, if it doesn't, then, what I think Mr. Smith used the word to one of the people that he reached out to in our company, help is on the way. That was his quote. So I guess he viewed that help was on the way. So
you don't see it as we are potentially that you potentially have to do a capital raise if you don't get some of these things.
No, that's not. Listen, my focus would be on doing some deals, transactions internally to new contracts, to doing some dispositions / JVs, right? And use that as the basis for working capital. I think that, a couple of major decisions that we have that maybe we should use the opportunity to relook at, the capital structure of the company and maybe do something with that. Maybe do something that get us onto a major exchange, which I know we can do to have access to more investors. But I don't think that the last thing that anyone has an appetite right now, and this is not a Voxtur thing, this is just public small cap space. Most people don't have an appetite for, further dilutions of their shares. They just don't.
No. Especially if it's an undervalued stock.
That's correct.
Get diluted. I have some of these business questions here. Still, maybe try to get some of these fast. I don't know how much time you have here.
I probably got another 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
But well, if you really need some more, I can. But what I think that a lot of the questions that you had, we've answered. But let's just go along as quick as we can, and I'll try and get us through as much as you can, because I want to make sure that I've given you the time necessary you need to get things cleaned up. So let's.
These questions are what I wanted to ask before this whole thing happened.
Yeah, but a lot of them I have answered them already, even though you haven't asked them. But go ahead.
Yeah. So 3 recent product releases: Voxtur Data Connect, Voxtur Verify, and Voxtur Rate Advisors.
Yes.
So can you project in this?
Yeah, sure. So Voxtur Data is it's almost it's almost like a dating site for data technology. What we were doing is basically matching companies that have certain data with other companies that are needing it, right? And providing them an opportunity to have access to that data for no cost. What that do to us is that all of those people that are using that data will require services for us, whether it's in settlement services or title, policies or valuation. And so really, really cool in what's happening and putting that together, because a lot of these businesses out there are lacking data, but they can't afford to buy it. And so our view is let's act like a dating site, and let's put them together and the ancillary benefit will come to us in a bountiful way through valuation or title or et cetera. So that's what that's about. What were the other two? The
Voxtur Rate Advisor and Voxtur Verify.
Okay, so Voxtur Rate Advisor, we used to call it BestX. So essentially what that is what we are doing and we're starting to do is we will go to everybody, all of the title agencies, right? And it's basically run run an engine that basically says what is the best title insurance you should have on that specific property, who provides the best policy, who provides the best price, and if attorney opinion letter is is the best offering, then we'll also be able to provide them with that. Why we've decided to go down that route is that we know the attorney opinion letter is not for everybody, but what we want is the best policy at the best price for our clients. And so we know that it's going to elicit good opportunities for AOL. But most importantly, we went to one of the major, and again, I wish I could give you the name, but we have already got approval from one of the major title insurers to say that they will support this, because what we are doing is going out there and providing an opportunity for insurance. It is providing opportunities that they don't get right now, because it's basically it's an opportunity to for us to provide deals that they couldn't have before, right? And so they like it. They know that it's not going away. They don't view it as a tremendously cash flow. Sorry, this keeps going off. Tremendously financial burden to them on AOL, but it is big enough that it's certainly going to be helpful for us. But we want to do it through the title insurers as well, and we actually coming along quite nicely in that, and we finally crossed that bridge with one of the bigger ones. So really happy with that. And then Voxtur Verify, I have already answered that. I said at the start, that's where we have the pre-docs, and then from pre-docs we go to starter kits, and then starter kits we go to the lending. We're right now in pilot projects with 3 entities, and we're running through that whole process using Voxtur Verify. Once we got the kinks kicked out, then we go on a massive indoctrination into all companies for that. And we are talking to some major players, in the lending side of the business, material players that like it. I like it a lot.
But AOL, I think a lot of investors have kind of
They're coming around.
lost the plot.
Well, no, it's not. It's not the case. It's not the case. By us having this BestX or this whatever the new name, they keep changing names and acronyms, every day. But they've all come around to know that it's incumbent that the insurers provide the best product for the constituents, right? They need it. And so by providing them an opportunity and an avenue to say this is the best insurance platform, this is the best price, and this is what you should have, the type of policy, they realize that that's ultimately going to be more business with them, because they're offering them that opportunity to make a decision what's in their best interest. The business that they're losing right now is so much bigger than them taking the chance of saying, we're going to take care of you, we're going to be objective, and we'll make the right policy. So we have one of the largest players in the business right now that have agreed to start using our platform.
There was a press release in 2020, like 2022, that Voxtur Analytics rolled out ALO with multiple lenders, top tier bank, and like what is going on with that? Hoping.
I wish that you could give Jim Abertelli a call. I think that he was somewhat optimistic that this was all going to happen. So when it's all said and done, we had constant roadblocks, politically, and so where we have a Fannie or Freddie said is okay, we weren't getting endorsements from the banks, and so we started off with a couple of banks, and we started with pilot projects, and because of all the noise, so everything has kind of subsided a bit. But now, because of what we've offered, with our new marketing platform that we offer, we're starting to see some big connectivities that are going to take place. And in talking to Ryan Marshall today, he indicated that he got consent from one of the major players in the industry to go ahead and we can start using this platform with that.
So you would offer AOL platform to them?
Yeah, it's not AOL exclusively, but it is that platform that basically decides what is the best policy that we should be used for that constituent.
You have the technology, right, to offer AOL?
We have the technology, yes. Technology is there.
And you're still are you still trying to get the lenders to, still trying this plan that the Jim
we know we're going to right now, because one of the biggest lenders have now endorsed it and saying, knowing full well that the amount of money that they would lose by giving out these policies to AOL, they have so much more to gain by using this platform. The more transparent they are, the more opportunity for to grow their business. So they're there, and we're happy. And same with Equity Protect, which was a product that was developed by Mr. Marshall, and you called it I think I saw it in your questions. You called it three-pronged identifier. That is going authenticator. Sorry, that is going forward. Essentially, we're going to be doing. That is a technology piece, and all of the other things that go with it, as far as settlement services and some of the other, the Best X platform, all of that is going to be provided by us. So all they're doing is selling the technology, and we are 100% exclusive for running everything else and facilitating that to go. That was a major accomplishment with Mr. Marshall. It never would have happened when Jim Albertelli was around, unfortunately, because I know Jim removed Ryan at one time. It just wasn't a proper fit or work for Jim, but thank God he agreed to come back, and thank God he believes in Voxtur in a material way. A lot of the people, because he was the owner of Benutech, are still here, and they're all large shareholders, and he's just such a tremendous support for us. Like, he's just an awesome person, and so valuable in so many ways.
One of the Finns found that the Equity Protect, they signed a contract with Hancock County.
Yeah.
And obviously it raises the question, like, let's say you sign one of these contracts, like how much does that make for Voxtur?
Well, I think that this is a good thing as far as what they're doing, because it's opening up the doors and making the world aware of what it is. And anything that requires settlement service, every time that there's a new, use of Equity Protect, there will be some settlement services or some, data, requirement, or, some piece of technology we have. So we haven't really sat down and looked at the numbers, because this is in the embryonic stages for Ryan. All I know is that I can safely say that Ryan is going to use Equity Protect as a pure technology, and that we will be exclusive to them to provide all of the other requirements, being settlement services, etc. Right? So a great partner, just a great partner.
You have some kind of revenue sharing.
Yeah, I mean, of course we do. We're just, every situation is different, but definitely we're going to, in some cases we could have 2/3 of the revenue, in other cases a third. It a lot depends on what our offering is. but he's got a fixed amount in for the technology, and then we'll have a fixed amount in depending upon what services are required. But we're pretty much going to be involved in every aspect of Equity Protect to support that one piece of technology that he's selling.
Yeah. You've talked about some of the like starter clients for the starter kits, like 25 transactions a month. You've talked like said that you're talking with, and that's that would be with $65, like 1.625 million per month. So it's obviously quite big.
Big one.
If you can
Big one. Yeah.
handle this, well, how are you doing with those?
I just finished, as I said, we've got 3 companies right now that we're doing the pilot projects with. All right. And so we're just making sure that we've got all of the kinks out before we tackle the giants. So I personally, with Ryan, met, that one company that said that they love it and they would use it. What you don't do is start with a company that does 25,000 transactions a month and all of a sudden find out that you've got some, kinks in the system, right? So we have 3 companies right now that we're doing pilot projects and just making sure that all the kinks are out. Probably a good idea, maybe a month from now or a month and a half from now, that you have Ryan, on this call, because, he's the one that certainly understands from a technical standpoint, from a digitization standpoint, like, he has such a wide and varied skill set, because he's in the business. He's run mortgages, he's sold real estate, he's built and sold many technology platforms. He's a valuable asset for us, and I think that I'm somewhat having to be very humbled that I don't know and understand in detail the type of technology or digitization that you probably deserve to have discussed. So maybe he's a guy one day, in the next weeks to come, that he would certainly make himself available to talk to your group and, get into the specifics of that technology. Very, very, very selfless. He's a very selfless person, a really, really good individual, and I'm so pleased to have him on our team.
Yeah. About Voxtur Wealth, is that still gonna happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I mentioned, there are some projects that we know are going to have value, and then we had to sit back and say, okay, where are we going to get the quickest return on our investment? And so we've only got so many technical people because I had to scale back so much. So that was one of the areas. It's certainly, some of the technology is there, but Jim Albertelli decided that Ross McCready, who ran that, he just wasn't willing to support the business and the spend that we needed to do to get it there, and so there was it was a little bumpy road because of it, and so we'll revisit it. It's just not right now, but it's certainly money and platform that we're glad we have.
You have the investment you did back for 5 million or something, worth some AI startup situation. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Is that wealth? Is that real wealth you're talking about?
No. It was before, you made an investment to some AI real estate tech play. This is kind of a spontaneous question, so I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just thinking
if you had a name, I would.
Yeah. Well, I don't have it right now. But the bankruptcy product, has it launched? Is that you probably said?
We continue to talk because the platform that was built and customized for one major large bank, and so I think that it's been postponed to September, but certainly they're continue to pay the monthly fees for continue to extend the development, and we remain optimistic. It's interesting because, we are going to have to partner with Albertelli Law in that in that platform. So that's going to be interesting for that specific client. But it is what it is. I mean, we own the derivative product, and he happens to have a master service agreement with that client. So I think that there is a willingness, notwithstanding, I would say that our relationship with Jim Albertelli hasn't been acrimonious. I mean, it hasn't been acrimonious. Jordan Ross of our team continues to talk to Jim regularly to, kind of work our way through things and find how we can still work with each other and benefit each other's company. Are we disappointed that, that he's participating with Mr. Smith on this, on this latest initiative that they brought forward? I am. But, I'm sure that he's, has frustrations with us in his own way too. So, but, there's an old saying that, that I was taught once from someone I used to work with, and that is, you never get mad at your money. Right? Whether you like somebody or respect somebody, it's certainly important, right? But you shouldn't get mad at your money as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in a professional, ethical, moral, principled way. Why do you get mad at your money? You don't have to be best friends with everyone. You don't have to be on the same side with everyone. So don't get mad at your money. And so I think, Jim's goal is to make money. Our goal is to make money. And so we'll find a way to work collaboratively together and do it. That's my view.
Do you expect the second half of this year to be cash flow positive?
Well, Real Wealth is a big part, and obviously our RPTA is a big part. If they kick in, yes, absolutely, and they should kick in, right? So do they for the last 2 quarters, are they going to kick in enough to offset the losses for the first 2 quarters? I don't know. They should, but ultimately they with those kicking in, even for the next quarters, even being cash flow positive for the quarters going forward is a big deal. So I had a bit of a bubble burst when I woke up a couple of days ago and saw this initiative. And so, I think it concerns me that, how that's going to impact. I mean, we own the platform. We paid for the business. We have a succession plan in place if necessary. We respect all of the people at Blue Water that work hard and are committed to the projects. Just haven't reached out and talked to them yet. We thought we'd just wait for this to be over and see where everything is. But, one way or the other, we're going to be good.
It was last summer, the last time there was a press release about Blue Water deal. So do you think there will be more? Like, do you have something coming up?
Yeah, there's probably 1,000. I mean, Al has worked around the clock ferociously to grow his business. Whether it's on the tokenization side, whether it's to get more involved with the originators, expanding on pre and post close due diligence, to do more flow work, to work with mortgage warehousing businesses. Things that we've done with the mortgage collaborative. I could just go on and on. He has worked tirelessly to get this business to where it is. And regardless of what he feels personally, should not affect, anything about, the business going forward and what it does. So it's just disappointing that there's a bit of a hiccup that way, but, one way or the other, we'll go through it.
Yeah. I guess I have 2 Blue Waters here, and then we can be done. So you have, you said in the the quarterly calls recently that during 2024 you have added like 250 active originations in our whole loan platform. How is that gonna?
It's coming along really good. I mean, one of the major originators is adding, people, correspondence substantively, and so as they get boarded, they become on and they become part of the system. And Al can start doing flow work for them. He can start doing bulk deals with them, etc. And so we're just waiting as this one major client starts boarding, these banks and that on, then our business will increase. So our flow business has increased because of it, and we're happy. And every time they do a bulk deal, we get, paid on a per transaction basis too. So our platform is strong, and our business is strong and growing, and now continues to grow. I mean, ultimately, we're going to have exposure to over 1,000 correspondents. So I mean, they're just getting boarded, uh, as fast as they quickly can, and we have to participate in that and make customizations to their specific institution, right? So it takes a little bit of time, not that much time, but a little bit of time to do that.
Yeah. About the TMC, like there's 215 members. It's been a year. Like, how many have you got into the platform?
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that the people at the Mortgage Collaborative have been extremely supportive and really committed to it. And I know that Al meets with them and talks to them, in a way. We're certainly going to get involved in a material way with some of the credit unions and the banks in providing deal flow, like, flow work and selling and buying. And, the fact that Al can, mix and match the mortgages to, geographically wherever those loans are. Big opportunities ahead. I think, I think at some point in time, if you're really interested to get into the exact details, then we can certainly bring someone. I would normally say Al, but depends on what happens in the future. But would certainly someone come on, we'll get a number of different, opportunities and people to provide that information to you. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just saying, if you can deal with this debt, if you can get profitable, and if you can get consistent growth, you're going to have a total re-rating of the stock.
Question.
So that is what it's all about, I guess. After this thing is resolved in one way or another. And yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything to say at the end? And/or do we just end it?
Okay. Well, a couple hours. It was, certainly, Eunice, I will say this, that I can't say in words how much I appreciate, the support. I can't say in words how much I appreciate, the loyalty. I know that you're sick of saying that we're trying our best, but I really do know that with some of the interviews that I've been conducting for CEO roles and others, the type of people that want to be part of our company is flooring to me. They believe that we're one of a kind, that the opportunities and how progressive we've been as far as where the market is going with technology, and how we've put ourselves in a position to have success in those areas. They think the foresight of guys like Qureshi, the guys like Jeff Young, like Ryan Marshall, like Marty Haldane on the valuation side, like Chad Neal, like Jim Adams on the technology and title side. It's really, really, really fortifying to know how much respect there is for our business. And because of that, we tend to have a lot of criticism by our peers because, quite frankly, I think there are a lot of people really, really concerned that with our, with our introduction of some of the technology and digitization that we have, is going to change the industry. it's, following, our motto of making things quicker and cheaper and more accurate, for the residential homeowner. So we'll continue to do that. And again, thank you all. And let's hope on Monday that we can have some relief and allow your voters to go in and hopefully, vote and, all of the kind words and the letters of support supporting our management team or our board team, and that is really, really uplifting for us. And so hopefully, everyone can get on the phone, with this broker and convince them to give them the control numbers so that we can go online. Because the way it works is that it not only goes online, but then it has to go through, I think, a company called Broadhurst in the US, and then eventually hit on ours. So we got to get it done on, Tuesday at the latest. So tomorrow's or Sunday or Monday is a big day, very big day. So having that 150 million shares, if that's the case, I mean, you're an example. If I take you and multiply that times 1,000, it's a very strong representation investment in this company. And so I'm grateful, I'm humbled, and we're going to do our best. So thank you very much for having me today. Look forward to talking.
Thank you.